The UN resolution was passed 22 to 11 with 14 countries abstaining. It calls on the Sri Lankan government to ensure investigation and prosecution of crimes relating to human rights violations and international human rights law.
It also reflects the High Commissioner's findings that the human rights situation has deteriorated, with particular concerns for human rights defenders in civil society space and members of different ethnic and religious communities, including Tamils, Muslims and Christians.
Sri Lanka lobbied hard against the resolution, and its friends stood by the country.
All countries should abide by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, respect the sovereignty and independence of other countries, and abandon the practice of interfering in other countries' internal affairs.
Human rights activist BHAVANI FONSEKA watched closely as the crucial session progressed.
Basic notion of respecting rights, respecting dignity has to start, and leadership from the political actors, from the government, from the opposition in terms of trying to achieve a peaceful solution is essential. So the resolution is merely just an indicator that so much is required, but really it's up to the Sri Lankans now to take this step forward.
But people like SELVARANI are struggling to do that. In December 2000, her husband WILWARASA and their 6- and 13-year-old sons were killed by soldiers of the Sri Lankan army, part of a group of 8 civilians hacked to death and buried here in Mirisuville in the northern peninsula. Army Staff Sergeant Sunil Ratnayaka was convicted on 8 counts of murder, while 4 other soldiers were acquitted in 2015. The Supreme Court upheld the conviction. But President Gotabaya Rajapaksa pardoned Ratnayaka a few months after taking office.
The man who was convicted of the murders was sentenced to death, but this government came and freed him. They didn't tell us or ask us about what we felt. There's no justice or law that is respected.
The pardon marked the first of a series of reversals under President Rajapaksa, which the UN says threatened to reverse the limited but important gains made in recent years. Tuesday's resolution said these include increasing militarization, eroding judicial independence, impunity and political obstruction of accountability, increased marginalization of Tamils and Muslims, shrinking democratic space, and restriction of media freedoms. The Sri Lankan government says the resolution overreaches the mandate of the UN rights body.
This resolution will polarize Sri Lankan society and adversely affect economic development, peace and harmony.
UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet had wanted sanctions against senior figures of Sri Lanka's government. This resolution falls short of that, mandating the collecting and preserving of evidence of war crimes. The Rajapaksa administration says that's unwarranted, unjustified, unhelpful and divisive. But for families of victims, it may help shed light on what happened to their loved ones. Minelle Fernandez, Al Jazeera, Colombo.